Hi there, this is John Wilkinson again from History Made Easier. Now consider the dilemma facing the Nazis after the March election. The Nazis were confirmed as the largest party in the Reichstag, and with the nationalists they had a majority, but it was only a slim majority. Indeed, the results sent mixed messages. And whilst the Nazis wanted a radical right-wing revolution, they still needed to tread warily. They needed to take the elites and the German people as a whole with them. The Nazi Party polled 43.9% of the vote in the March election. The nationalists polled 8%. So that the Nazis and nationalists together polled 51.9% of the total vote. But this meant that, despite the brutality against other party members and the intimidation of the population as a whole, unable to campaign, the Communist Party still polled 12.3%, and the Social Democrats, barely able to campaign themselves, polled 18.3%. The Centre Party held its vote too, polling 11.2%. To put it another way, while over 17 million people voted for the Nazi Party and 3 million for the nationalists, over 7 million voted for the Social Democrats, nearly 5 million for the Communists, and another 5.5 million for the Centre Party and its sister party, the Bavarian People's Party. But there's another way of looking at that election. Whereas a 3/4 majority of voters had backed the Weimar parties in 1919, the Social Democrats, the Democratic Party and the Centre Party, a 3/4 majority of voters now supported parties opposed to Weimar. Still, the key practical consequence of that election was that Hitler's government lacked the 2/3 majority in the Reichstag needed to change the constitution. To address any concerns from the old traditional elite, as well as the middle classes, that the Nazis were still untrustworthy, a rabble more than a credible party, Goebbels set up a display of pomp and ceremony, a day of unity, a day of Germanness, the day of Potsdam, as it quickly became known. And if you want an example of the Nazis' use of propaganda at this point, there is none better. The day of Potsdam, held on March the 21st, marked the opening of the new Reichstag, following the elections. It was held in the garrison church of the Prussian army. It would normally have taken place in the Reichstag building itself, but of course it had been burnt down. Goebbels saw the immense symbolic potential of the setting. The church had been built by Frederick William I in 1735, and the tombs of the Soldier King and his son, Frederick the Great, lay side by side in the crypt. The church had been designed to display Prussian military greatness. Trumpets, flags and cannon decorated the stone of the chancel. The weather vane on the church tower held the initials FWR, and featured a Prussian eagle soaring up towards the sun. The day signified the happy marriage between the old Germany of the Prussian Junker, symbolised by President Hindenburg, weighed down by age and his military regalia, and the new Germany, Nazi Germany, represented by Hitler, wearing a suit rather than his party paramilitary uniform, a safe pair of hands. But Potsdam too signified the utter hypocrisy of the old and the new regimes, represented by Hindenburg's solemn acknowledgement, with a flourish of his marshal's baton, of the empty throne of king and emperor, and Hitler's public display of respect for the old order, particularly of Hindenburg, the handshake with bowed head, the words giving thanks to Providence that had given Germany the benefit of the great warlord's leadership at the moment of Germany's renewal. Goebbels, having been made Minister of Popular Enlightenment and Propaganda on March the 13th, took personal control of the preparations, maximising the full potential of the day, even choosing the date, March the 21st, the first day of spring, and the date of the opening of the first German Reichstag by Bismarck, following the creation of the German Empire in January 1871. The streets of Potsdam, an old town just outside Berlin, were decked with German imperial, Prussian and swastika flags. Missing was the flag of Weimar Germany. The streets were also lined with the ranks of Reichswehr troops and brown-shirted paramilitaries, their arms raised in salute. Veterans of the War of Unification were present, as were the old field marshals, generals and admirals of imperial times, the Crown Prince too, and the flags of the most renowned Prussian regiments were placed in prominent positions. Wreaths were laid on the tombs of the Prussian kings, and as I said, Hindenburg paused to salute the empty seat of Kaiser Wilhelm II. A choir sang, and a battery of guns fired off a salute. There was that symbolic handshake between President and Chancellor, and of course there were speeches. Both Hindenburg and Hitler made reference to the greatness of Prussia. Hindenburg referred to Prussia's never-failing courage and love of fatherland. Hitler's speech, having paid homage to Hindenburg and to the greatest of kings, Frederick William I and Frederick the Great, was aimed at gaining the confidence of the old order. And both Hindenburg and Hitler looked forward to a renewed Germany. Hitler talked of the old greatness and the new strength. It was a great German occasion. It was a great day for the National Socialists, just as Goebbels had planned it. The Nazis had not so much aligned themselves with the old traditional elite, rather they had aligned the elite with them. Think about the significance of that. It put them in a stronger position to take over the state. And their next move in that process, the Enabling Act, was going to be another decisive moment, which placed alongside the decree for the protection of people and state, legalised the authoritarian one-party state. But that's for another presentation. Now, don't forget that if you think you would benefit from tutorials, and I would make them work for you, I may have a slot available. Just get your parents to get in touch with me at historymadeeasier@gmail.com, and we'll see if we can sort something out. But for now, let me thank you for listening and wish you the very best of luck with your studies. Cheers.